Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Sofa Guys Movie Review. I'm your host, Gerard. Shortly, we will be having Cody join us as well, and potentially another guest, Easton from New Jersey. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a little bit of Halloween movies, stuff that we used to watch ourselves, our favorite movies. Um, Other than that, we are also going to be reviewing Halloween Kills, the latest in the Halloween franchise, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Nick Castle, and as well as Anthony Michael Hall, which was quite surprising. But that'll be later on. So we're just going to give a few moments here to go ahead and wait for everyone else. For anyone that's out there watching, do you have any plans going on for Halloween this year? If so, leave a comment. If you have any movies that you'd like to talk about yourself or you want us to talk about, also let us know. Let's see. Well, while waiting for everyone, I suppose I can go ahead and start off a little bit. Um, this year for Halloween, of course, it's not like anything I was able to do any before. New place, um, new life, essentially, and a lot of things have changed where I can't do everything like I normally do. So, unfortunately, this year I am unable to dress up, let alone I will also be working this Halloween rather than being able to go out, spend it with my friends, or pass out candy for some of the kids coming through. But I get to go ahead and spend it with you guys, and at the same time, I get to go ahead and have a little bit more fun this year because of I get to spend less money. Well, a little humor on their side. But for me, one of the movies every year, no matter what I have to watch, I can't help myself, is The Monster Squad. For anyone who's familiar with the movie, and those of you who are not, Monster Squad deals with a few different kids that are absolute fans of monsters, only to find out that monsters are real. And unfortunately, they are living in their town and they have to be the ones to stop a prophecy from coming true. Of course, it has all your classic monsters in there from Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Dracula, and of course, you also have their version of Gilman, which you can't go ahead and go wrong with that. How you doing today, Cody?
Good. I like that shirt.
Thank you. I decided to go ahead and dress up a little bit today, so hey, just because it's flannel, we'll go ahead and okay, I'm a Winchester from Supernatural. There we go. I'm dressing up for Halloween.
Well, sir, I must have got the memo because I'm wearing a sweater.
Oh well, look at that. So I guess we got Dean and Sam. All right.
I kind of do look like Sam sometimes.
Yes,
so.
you do.
Moose.
Squirrel. So, all right. But as I was mentioning to everyone here, one of the movies every year that I can't help but watch is Monster Squad.
Oh, so good.
Isn't it though?
Yeah.
I mean, it is corny, but it's fun. It's meant for kids, but at the same time, it's got a lot of adult humor and it's got a lot of action to it for it, for the style.
It also has like a Spielberg-y kind of like feeling to it sometimes.
That is true. It does.
But that might just because there's kids on bikes.
Yes, there is. Good soundtrack, of course, to go along with, and the makeup, the design that they did for all the monsters too. I was actually quite impressed with that. I mean, Dracula is not overdone, but also not underlit as well. The Wolfman, different than most other movies that you see him in, still kind of has that old school feel of the Wolfman, but at the same time, a little bit newer lineage to him as well,
Mm-hmm.
But their Gilman was absolutely horrific. And I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean, he was scary. So definitely better than the creature from Black Lagoon, but at the same time, its own character,
That's what's fun about all of them, I think. They're all just their very own interpretation, their own character. And like I said, it's kids on bikes. I don't care if it's a gill monster and a werewolf. My mental image is still kids on bikes, even when they're monsters. So, like, it's a good film. I haven't seen that in a minute. Now I need to.
Well, the good part is I do have it, which means we could go ahead and watch it at any time, which I already plan on watching it tomorrow because, like I said, for me, it's kind of a tradition. So I can't help but do so.
It's interesting you say Halloween traditions. I feel like everybody has their own. Like I watch through the big three franchises
Okay.
every year.
So, as we were talking about, since aside from Halloween Kills, which we'll be reviewing towards the end, we're going over movies and series that we used to watch ourselves that make it Halloween for us. So, on that note, what's something that you'd like to go ahead and watch every Halloween, regardless? It's your tradition, if you will.
Yeah, so obviously, I know I'll dive more into it. I'm a big Nightmare fan. My favorite 80s slasher franchise was Nightmare. I love Freddy. Who doesn't? He was the most creative of the killers, in my opinion. Like, you got Jason, who's just brutal as all heck. You have Michael, who terrifies me still. And then you have Freddy, who has flair. He's a showman. And he makes me afraid of things that I didn't think I'd ever be afraid of, like TVs and beds. But
walls and telephones.
I'm actually going to pivot to my favorite underrated franchise, because I do watch this movie every Halloween, and that would be Puppet Master.
Okay, all right.
If you haven't seen Puppet Master, it's from Full Moon Studios, my favorite B-movie studio. They're going to hate me for saying that. But they're responsible for things like Demonic Toys, Leprechaun, a lot of those old school kind of like, they're a good time, fun to watch. Puppet Master. Here's the premise.
All right.
You got puppets with cool weapons and personalities. And an old man that goes, you know what? Let's fight some Nazis. So he creates these puppets. They come to life and are specifically made to kill some Nazis and other people. So these little puppets come to life, and these people are in a hotel, and they're all psychic and trying to figure out what's going on. All the ingredients to make a fantastically bad B movie. But it doesn't ignore the rules of puppets. Meaning their size, they're getting flung across the room.
Okay.
My favorite scene in the whole movie is Pinhead is this little puppet. He's like their enforcer with his like mobster sweater, turtleneck, and everything. These big hands. He wants to go look inside the room and see his victim. So he has to push a chair all the way to the door, climb up, and look through the keyhole. It's so much fun.
Well, yeah, how can you go wrong with that? I mean, like you said, they're puppets. They're not going over. They're not doing it crazy. Like, okay, they have super strength, so they can do whatever they want. They're not floating. They're not doing anything. They're literally having to figure out. I'm 12 inches tall, and I have to figure out how to go ahead and look at something 2 feet. Well, there's a chair.
Mm-hmm. Have you watched them?
I have watched a few of them. Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to watch all of them because a while back, I didn't realize they were continuing the franchise. So it went ahead, escaped me. So yet again, another one that I have to go ahead and finish watching the series.
What's nice too is you don't really need to watch them in order. The continuity changes in every movie. It's one of Full Moon's biggest complaints that they get about it, is that it changes every movie. And I own them all, so all 12 of them.
Oh wow, there's 12.
Just about, yeah. If you include the Demonic Toy crossover and then some of the other stuff, it's fun.
Well, it sounds good. No, that sounds actually really good. I'd like to go ahead and actually watch the rest of them. Very nice.
Yeah. What about you, sir? I know you talked about Monster Squad.
Yep, I started off with Monster Squad. One of the other ones that I have to admit, every year I watch, and in fact, I actually dressed up as a character from this movie. It was actually the last time that I dressed up because I ended up scaring the neighborhood, and no, they would not let me dress up again. This was actually the movie Legend with Tom Cruise and Tim Curry as Darkness. I dressed up as Darkness. Yeah, that wasn't good. That wasn't good. The costume was good, but the reactions was not.
Wait, Legend, is that the one where Tom Hardy is playing twins?
No. This right here is Tom Cruise. It's back from the 80s, earlier one, so he's really young. But it is a fantasy base where he is a wood nymph, essentially. And he falls in love with the princess, where during their courtship, she does something unforgivable. He decides to show how much he loves her. He is going to bring her to see the unicorns, which will only come out to anyone of innocence or that of nature and folk. In doing so, she takes it upon herself to touch the unicorn, which is absolutely forbidden, causing a darkness and a winter to bestow upon the land. This is where Darkness takes his notion of, I can now start ruling and he sends his horde of goblins to kill the unicorns. So the whole idea is, after one unicorn is slain, Tom Cruise, he teams up with another wood nymph, essentially a guardian of the forest, and a few dwarves, and they take it upon themselves to go ahead and search for the last remaining unicorn and save the world from darkness in general. Great fantasy, great puppetry as well. For the year it was, you watch some of the puppetry, you watch the special effects, practical, and it's beautiful. It really is. The soundtrack is done by Tangerine Dream, which unfortunately was not the original. That was actually who picked it up for the American theatrical release. Now, this is what most of us who've seen the movie are used to, but in actuality, there was a soundtrack and score prior to that. It's harder to find, but if you're able to do so, it's also just as beautiful. Now, the makeup design, for anyone who remembers, Tim Curry is in full red makeup with like 3-foot horns, deep, commanding voice, and a full army of goblins just completely commanding.
World of Warcraft literally made a quest for night elves based on his character, and that's coming to mind now.
Really?
Yeah.
If I played, I would actually do that and actually try that particular quest, but sadly, I do not.
It's just the way you described it. It's like he always did kind of seem like Tim Curry. That's a first for me. It's a movie we're talking about that I haven't seen, which is crazy. I watch movies like it's my job. Wait. Yeah.
But yeah, I own that one as well. In fact, I own the original theatrical cut, the European cut, and the director's cut. So I have all three that we were able to go ahead and watch at some point. So to really go ahead and give a comparison between everything, you know?
So since we're talking about like traditions and Halloween and stuff like that,
all right,
I want to talk about movies that hit our memory field a little differently. I want to talk about movies that just scared the bejeebies out of us when we were children. And for me, Darkness Falls.
Okay, all right.
How do you make the Tooth Fairy so terrifying? They figured it out.
That they did. That they did. Oh, talk about a psychological disaster upon anyone who sees the Tooth Fairy.
So yeah, premise of the movie, the Tooth Fairy, don't look at her. Those kids start looking at her, and then essentially she'll kill them, things like that, and a boy survives and grows older, and he's still afraid of the dark. And he sees another kid kind of going through it, and it's a really, really cool bridging of generations there, but also just a fantastic movie where it plays with the idea of what you don't see is so much scarier than what you see.
Okay. Now, what did they do with the Tooth Fairy? Like, what made the Tooth Fairy scary?
Well, at first, it was just you're given the idea that she's so ugly and terrifying that if you look at her, she'll kill you. And that's all you get for the first portion of the movie.
Okay.
Then you get a flashback or like a story told of a woman that, like your standard witch trial kind of story, where she dies and it's her. And she's so scarred and hideous, she can't handle the light. When eventually you see her, she's more creature than woman by the end of it. Kind of looks like a harpy without feathers in my eyes, with like the teeth and like the way she kind of screeches.
All right. I could see that.
But no wings or anything. But in the story, she was the Tooth Fairy for the kids in the village.
Gotcha. So essentially, she continued on with the idea of what she did. But even though being essentially burned at the stake as a witch, now because of her curse of how she appears, if anyone does gaze upon her, they must die.
Yeah, and one of my favorite shots from it as a kid in the beginning of the movie, he's starting to talk to girls, finally losing his last baby tooth.
Oh, okay.
Puts it under the pillow. And she's there. And it's the shot of him under the blanket. Just there. And you can feel her in the room first. And then you see just the shadow of the silhouette pressing down right above his face.
Oh. That is eerie.
Yeah.
That is definitely eerie. I like that. I think I'm going to have to watch that one all over again because I do vaguely remember that, but sadly I don't remember it completely. So yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch.
I'm the same with Monster Squad, so like I feel like we have a whole lot of catching up that we need to do.
Yes, we do.
That's a fun time. Because I have Halloween off.
I do not, sadly. I have to work. But I got the morning and then got afterwards. So
We can do some morning spooks.
yes, we can.
Yeah. Speaking of spooks,
All right.
I got a lot of movies I want to talk about.
Oh, that's fine. We're here for a whole hour. So
Can we talk about how happy of an accident 80s horror movies are?
oh, definitely. Let us.
Halloween.
All
The
right.
one that started it all.
But remember, Halloween was not in the 80s.
70s, right?
78.
Still, you all know what I mean by 80s slasher, camp horror, all that kind of stuff. So when we think of Halloween, I don't know how much we all know about the movie Halloween, but it hadn't been done like that before. So the idea of people getting together, some bigwigs with some money, and saying, I want a theater of the mind. And that's what we got. What started the franchise, like this entire genre, was the idea of, let's scare people without showing them anything. I challenge you to find blood for me in the first Halloween movie. It's only one scene. At the very end. That movie was filmed with $300,000. To be comparison, Jaws 2 at the same time, $90 million. John Carpenter composed, wrote it, directed it, produced it, and then the best part of it all, the shape. True to his name, because that's what it wasn't Michael for a long time. It was just the shape. They didn't have a killer. They didn't have anyone cast, so they had a hang around on set. It was just there, helping out makeup and stuff, and they're like, "Yo, put on a mask, let's walk around for this scene." Sure enough, just being there and walking around, but it fits what Michael was, just the shape behind the mask.
Yes.
And I love that. He's like, it's the thing. He goes to the house still because it's memorialized where they shot Haddonfield in California, and he's like, this is what I'm going to be known for the rest of my life. And it was a happy accident.
That is true. That is very true. And a lot of people don't know about that. That he was it just happened to be an employee, an extra that was off to the side, and the director turned and said, "Hey, put the mask on and just walk where I tell you. Go ahead and walk from here to there. Now walk from here to there." And it fits so well that he ended up being cast, but he wasn't the only one. He was the one who ended up becoming the main person to become Michael. But there was a couple other employees that were doing it as well, depending on the scenes or the situation or who was available. But for something so iconic, scary, psychological, all put together, let's talk about the most iconic thing. How did the mask come to be? And that is still brilliant to this day.
Yeah, they used two masks at first. He blended them together, and then tried both. The first one did not work. But
Nope.
From my understanding, it was like one of those fake, like we see like the politician masks and things like that. It was one of those that they modified, wasn't it?
Close. It wasn't a politician. It was none other than most recent astronaut and former captain of the Enterprise as well. It was a William Shatner mask.
Yep.
They found the William Shatner mask, and he went ahead and painted the face, the like drywall white, cut out the eyes a little bit more, shaped the hair just a little bit, and then, bam, we have Michael Myers, the shape.
I made a connection with this because of the timing. It's the most human out of the horror franchises at the time.
That's true.
If you look at Halloween as a self-contained story and not the franchise itself, it is about a madman who escapes, who's been locked up as a kid, escapes, and goes back home and starts killing. That's believable. That's real.
Yes.
What else happened in the late 70s? We started learning how to profile.
Yeah,
And that was the first time the term serial killer was coined.
that is true.
The first time we started humanizing killers. We finally get a real human experience in a horror movie. Think about what Halloween did for us as far as the moviegoer experience. We saw monsters. We saw things that could be explained as like makeup and clay and whatnot, because that was the idea. We were escaping for a moment and coming back. Halloween, you took home with you.
Very, very true. I mean, there was nothing supernatural about him. There was nothing extraterrestrial. There wasn't, he wasn't struck by lightning, bitten by a cobra. Yeah, you know the pun. He wasn't made by anyone. He wasn't a vampire, nothing like that. He was, like you said, human, and that's more scary than anything. The fact that this could be a neighbor, this could be a coworker, roommate, anyone. There's nothing that separates it other than the fact that what does he do?
And I think it's super neat too that only Loomis was the only actor in that movie who had experience. It wasn't just a young film student.
No, he was the only actual one. Now, didn't he also Donald Please, right?
Yep.
Donald Please was also a theatrical, I'm sorry, a thespian, and accredited with many roles in the Broadway and theater as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he hated doing Halloween.
Yeah.
He couldn't take it seriously. In fact, he was terrible to work with. He was drunk on set. So in this scene where they're in the car,
Okay.
first off, how is Michael driving? But we're not even going to. A novelization basically predicts that he watched Loomis, and there's that one line of dialogue where they go, Michael can't drive. Well, he did a great job earlier. That whole thing. He's wasted. They found a bunch of bottles of wine and stuff in his trailer and that right there. And they go, all right, we need you to go do this car scene. You have one chance to do this. And John Carpenter got to really show his stuff as a director. And it's talked about how well he was able to handle it.
Okay.
Just fun little stuff. But what I wanted to get at with this is it changed horror, right? Like Halloween changed horror. We did not have a killer movie like that. We had Psycho, right?
Yes.
We definitely had Psycho, which is the closest thing we had to it, and terrifying, and technically directly leads to this because Jamie Lee Curtis, her mom was in Psycho.
Yes, she was.
And her father is a very accomplished actor as well.
That he is. She comes from a long line. And coining the term scream queen was her mom, and which she went ahead and took on after Halloween, which is just absolutely brilliant. But wasn't it actually My Valentine that she was in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the one where her scream was actually credited as making her the scream queen.
Yeah, and right around the same time, I believe we also got what was it? There's Carrie. We got Carrie around the same time too.
Yep.
And another thing, very very bloody, but we either went super blood or none, or it was a very weird thing. We didn't know how to do blood, which leads me into where the crux of where this is all going. What did Halloween inspire? Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Another human story. I recently have watched the first 5 Friday the 13th in the last 2 days.
Okay.
To critically examine them. Because I knew we'd be talking about big icons like that in this podcast.
Oh, yes.
I have thoughts and feelings and emotions about Friday the 13th.
All right.
But I kind of want to hear what you think about the franchise as a whole and the first movie. I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
So that I know my audience here because
No, you're good.
I got feelings.
Oh, no, believe me, I get it. So for me, it's always going to be the first one. The first one that started the franchise will always be the best. And it's because it's the most realistic. Now, most people have probably seen Friday the 13th, the original. And for anyone who hasn't out there, you're dealing with a camp which did a mother wrong. And her son was killed by being neglected. He went out swimming and he drowned. No one watched him. No one did anything. So she blames the entire camp, not just one person, but all the counselors. So we're looking at a person who is out there killing all these counselors, whether it's a machete, whether it's an arrow, being pushed down, an axe to the head, whatever. And it was bloody. It was well done, but it wasn't supernatural. Just like in Halloween, this was a person. An actual person who was seeking revenge. And with that alone, it hits you because she's a villain, but she's got that, she's got that right, but at the same time, it's not a right, if that makes sense. I mean,
You know what she did for work, right?
wasn't she
The
also,
A public educator.
I was going to say, I thought she was an educator of some sort. So yeah.
She was a Mr. Rogers type.
See, that's what makes it funny. She's a Mr. Rogers style character in real life. And what is she playing on the film? but a grieving mother who's also a serial killer. I got to give her credit because honestly, that was even more frightening than anything. Seeing someone scorned like that and to the lengths of what they will do, nothing's more frightening than that, honestly.
I'm about to blow your mind about Pamela Voorhees.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'm gonna get my soapbox here, and I'm sorry about spoilers, guys, but you've had 40 years. So, Friday the 13th, coming right about a year or two, I want to say, right after Halloween. Halloween has took the stage, starting off in one town and spiderwebbing over weekends to become one of the most successful movies of its time. So then they take this guy who's making a killing doing musicals and erotic films. And they go, hey, you want to do a horror movie? And he's like, no. They go, guess what? You're doing a horror movie. And he's like, oh, okay. Sean Cunningham. I want to thank his Cunningham. His name's Sean. Sean did not have any experience doing a horror movie. He created, and with his mind, was going to originally be an anthology, much like Halloween was going to be, about the night Friday the 13th. He was tasked with directly ripping off Halloween.
Okay, all right.
So the origin story of these two films is the same as far as how they came to be as, not as human, but came to be as how the films were going to be made. Well, Sean had been working on movies and movies and movies, trying to get his footing here in just American films. So he started getting help from his best friend from film school. Basically a roommate. Do you know who that was?
Who's that?
This is a little guy who hadn't quite stepped into the horror scene yet. Wes Craven.
Are you serious?
Wes Craven is involved with creating Friday the 13th.
Yes, he is.
And that's why. Because
Wow.
Sean would go to Wes and go, I need help. I don't have a movie yet. Wes Craven actually spliced and edited the movie.
Okay, that is amazing.
So here's where I'm going with this. We have a movie, right? We don't even have a killer yet. We don't have a plot. Sean is quoted talking about how he knew that he wanted to kill people and he wanted to do the opposite of Halloween because of the challenge he was given and make it as bloody as physically possible.
All right.
So they went to the madman, the genius. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, who basically is responsible for all of horror special effects in the 80s.
I'm going to go ahead and say Rick Baker.
Yep. And did you know that he started with Friday the 13th? He used Kodak film fluid, which is pretty poisonous, to make the blood thick.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of the scenes in Friday the 13th 1 and 2, some of the deaths that happen and the killing are done by your FX people wearing costumes of the counselors.
Okay.
For instance, Pamela's head being chopped off. That was Rick Baker in with a suit on.
Okay. All right.
So what I'm getting at with this is he had nothing. And he almost scrapped the movie 3 different times. In fact, money ran out. And they were going to go send everyone home, which leads to a funny story where they had to pack up for a while and come back. In the meantime, someone actually had used one of the bathrooms that was not functional. And that was the first thing they came back to. Yeah. But this is all context to show there was no plan with these movies. Every Friday the 13th movie for the first 4 movies was meant to be the last one. They weren't meant to keep going. You have Pamela in the first one, who is Jason's mom. She's avenging her son. Okay. Tell me why a man's arm with hair on his arm is in all of those scenes of killing. And that's actually why you always see the deaths happen in a separate shot. It always would fade out, fade back, and the weapon is lodged in them somehow.
Okay.
Think about that. The arrows, all of that, which props to the kill shot of the guy nailed with arrows to the door. Ugh. But Pamela, I've always wanted to wonder, was she not aware that Jason was alive?
That is a good question.
And I think I figured it out.
All right.
I think she lost it. When she starts talking for Jason, it kind of sprung an idea in me that she probably is aware that he's alive. But seeing him basically brain dead, devoid of oxygen,
Mm-hmm.
he's probably started speaking for him.
Okay, which would make sense since
Think
he
about
doesn't even
Part
speak at all.
2, where Ginny acts like his mom, and he just complies.
Yes, she puts the sweater on, and she starts talking like her.
Yeah.
And what does he do? He stops dead in his tracks.
Yeah, until he sees the head behind her and that. But I was thinking about it. There wasn't a plot line. There was no way to do it. So we started thinking the boy. And Jason has that trick ending, which was not in the original cut. The original cut, there was no Carrie ending. Until the money behind the film said, hey, you got to put a Carrie ending in there. People are all about that. So that's why we have the infamous shot of Jason.
Okay. So essentially, it was an afterthought added in because although they were finished with the film, we need a closure. We need something, you know.
There was never meant to be a Jason.
Interesting.
Part 2, you get Jason.
Okay.
And you get Pamela some Pamela scenes. You get Jason as a farmer. Jason's human until 5.
Yeah.
Completely. It's supposed to be Ginny in 2. It's supposed to come back for 3. Traumatized, just like Jamie Lee Curtis in 2018 Halloween, to face him. It's supposed to be a 3-movie series.
Okay.
Just like what we ended up doing with Halloween. So 2 movies that started off the same, veered into opposites in different ways. Circle back, the original plan was to do the exact same thing.
All right. You know, I like that. Nice.
I can't get over it. Pamela is a perfect actor, and I think she was the perfect killer for the franchise.
Can you just imagine what she did right after filming all that and the movie was released? Back as an educator, I was like, oh yeah, that was me. Anyways, turn to chapter 12.
Most of them didn't want to be known for it.
Oh, that's true.
Especially the Kevin Bacon sex scene.
Oh yeah.
She did not want to be involved with that. She did it because she was told no one would see the movie.
Yeah.
And then it premiered across the country.
Yeah. And then from across the country for the popularity, then across the world.
Did you know that she was stoned for that? She was freaking out and was going to back out, and then Kevin Bacon had her smoke a joint right before they went on.
I could understand that. I mean, if you're apprehensive about the fact of doing something on scene like that, and you know, oh no one's going to see it, but you don't know that, and you're fearful that I could see that you need something to go ahead and relax, whether it's some alcohol, whether it's smooth jazz, something, But no, I could see that.
And you can even tell, especially there was no plan for this. What is the trick ending in 2? Pamela grabbing.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So it makes me wonder how much we do a lot of assuming in Friday the 13th. Why? We don't know. We don't know actually anything about the timeline, anything about Pamela. All we know is this mom was working as a lunch lady at the camp and blamed everyone else. It's about personal accountability. That's what the franchise is really about. Who's actually accountable? We're always scapegoating and doing things. It isn't until your final girl realizes that they might be in the wrong that anything gets solved.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of fun, and I knew you could kick out of Wes Craven being that heavily involved in Friday the 13th.
Oh, definitely. I mean, honestly, that one was quite a surprise for me. I mean, I thought I knew a lot about Wes Craven to begin with, his movies. But to hear that was just, wow.
If you guys want to see things about this, there's a fantastic show on Netflix it's called The Movies That Made Us, where it goes heavy into this stuff. And they bring the actors and crew on and they talk about what really happened to make the movies. I'm going to watch Jurassic Park later. I'm really excited.
I might actually start with season 3 because season 3 actually focuses on horror movies. So I might go in reverse just because everyone's been talking about it. I haven't felt like I had time to be able to watch those other than the other movies that I've been watching in shows.
You're going to geek. You're going to love it. I know because I loved it. I know you're going to be like, let's go.
Okay.
But I talked a lot. I want to hear from you.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. I mean, this, like I said, this is what we're talking about. Stuff about movies that we grew up with, stuff that we did for Halloween, overall. Stuff that means to us. Now, we have a little bit coming up here before we start focusing on Halloween Kills, but I actually saved one particular movie it's a tradition for me watching every year but it holds a particular significance, and that's the reason why no matter what, I will watch it every year, either the day before Halloween, which I did today, and probably on Halloween as well. But this one is Killer Clowns from Outer
I
Space.
knew it.
Now,
Where's the?
they are right there.
Aha!
Yep.
Spikey and Shorty.
Not just that.
Oh,
but-
and Jumbo and Son.
Yep, I have all four. On top of that, I also have something else over here, but I will go ahead and grab that in a moment. But let me go ahead and explain. So, growing up, I was introduced to Killer Clowns from my father. Needless to say, he did like some of his B movies as well as a lot of grade A action movies, war movies, and so forth. But every year he would dress up as a clown for Halloween. He would sit out on the porch. He would hand out candy, and it became a thing. So synonymous with what he does to the movie and being introduced to it, it became a big thing. So after he passed away, of course, no one would wear the costume again, and I don't blame anyone in the family because there was only one person who could pull it off, and we were not going to go ahead and try even doing that, let alone ruining the idea. But because of that, every year I go ahead and watch this movie. Now, I also got to meet the creators as well, 2 out of the 3 creators. That would be Charles and Stephen Chiodo. I did not, unfortunately, get a chance to meet Edward because due to family complications, he had to bow out from the Grand Rapids Comic-Con and go home, which family comes first. That's hands down for anyone. But if anyone's not seen this film, it is definitely your 80s B-style movie, but it is so fun just because of how crazy it is. I mean, you have a shooting star that people decide we're going to go ahead and find where it's at because, hey, we're kids. We're going to explore something that's unknown. Oh my gosh, I got to see what this is. Lo and behold, it is giant clowns that only grunt and make weird noises, do not speak, who are now chasing down everyone throughout the town and killing them by turning them into candy cartoons, candy cane. I mean, cotton candy. I will get this right. Trust me, I will. And, into balloons. But you have every little bit of jokes in there, from shadow puppets that turn evil to marionettes that have ray guns, actual popcorn being launched off that turns into giant clowns of, creatures, everything in there. And it's such a fun movie, over the top, but at the same time, well done.
Couldn't agree more. I love Killer Clowns.
It is such a classic.
It's so fun. Like, they're clowns, they're aliens, and they're killing. I don't need anything else.
This is true.
But I love that they don't talk. It almost makes it like it's not. It would ruin it if they did. I feel like their actions are what the character acting, the physical acting in that movie is ridiculous, and I'm just a fan. There's nothing I can say about this franchise that you couldn't, because it's your thing. But I'm just a big fan as a layman viewer of it. I'll never turn it off when it's on.
Oh, definitely not. But as I was mentioning before, having got to meet them, this right here is a nice little picture with Charles and Steven. Now, they weren't even open yet for their booth when I showed up, and they were absolutely nice. They were wonderful to talk to, accommodating, and I told them about my father, and not only did they give condolences, but we talked even more about it. And if you didn't get a chance to see in there, I'm holding the cotton candy gun itself. I've actually got the gun in my hand that was used in the actual movie. I was geeking. There was no way around it. I was just, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be like me with Freddy's glove. I would stain it with tears.
Or rust it. Either or.
Well, that would just make him cooler. Oh my gosh.
Yes, it would. Stained with the blood of your tears. Yeah.
That was a pretty good Freddy.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank
The
you.
only way I know how to copy Robert Englund is to cuss a lot.
Well, you could do that too because of Rick and Morty. Because remember, Scary Terry is basically
one of my
Freddy
favorite
Krueger.
jokes in the series.
So, Yeah.
Which actually brings me to a good point with this.
Okay.
We've talked about a lot of movies so far.
Yes, we
And I
have.
know what we're coming up on Halloween Kills as the current scary movie, and we're going to talk so much about it. I'm sure because we have feelings about it.
Yes, we
Before
do.
we get there, let's do a greatest hits. I want to go shot for shot.
All right.
Some of our favorite deaths in horror, the deaths that
Ooh.
shook us.
Ooh. Okay. All right. Well, I know it's not one of my top, not my top 3, but it is up there just because the idea of it is kind of freaky. But in Freddy versus Jason, when the couple are having sex and he comes in, he spears them while in the bed and then folds them in half. Just a sheer. There's nothing. You're not getting around it. You're not getting away from it.
That's the dream sequence, right?
No, that's actually during the party. Jason just walks in, sees them, spears them, and does that. It's not even a dream sequence yet.
Spearing. That's in part 2.
So, oh yeah, it's based off of that. Yeah.
Spears him in the bed.
Yep. But instead of just one person, it's 2, and then just that fold. I mean, it's not even a slow fold. This one is just completely pancake right there.
Brutal.
Oh,
Jason has always just been brutal.
yeah.
Ironically enough, my first one's a Freddy kill.
Okay. Let me guess. Would it by chance be Johnny Depp in the bed?
Man, how did you know?
Because that one is actually my second. That is my second.
Well, let's talk about that. Yeah.
Okay.
The sinking into the bed and then the blood. Also, I forgot that was Johnny Depp. The blood exploding. Your bed's your safe haven. When you're in bed under the covers, you're not supposed to allow to be touched. Kids know the rules. The monsters respect the rules. It's how we have a human monster society.
Yes.
And Freddy broke them.
Yes, he did. He broke it really well too, and that was just brutal on many different elements. I mean, not only your safe haven is broken, but you're pulled into the bed. You're folded in half, getting pulled in. Only right afterwards, a giant geyser of blood just comes out of nowhere, just showing that you were eviscerated. It's just, yeah. But no, that's not out of all films. The number one that has actually freaked me out for any death is actually from Creepshow 2. It is when they're on the raft and that sludge that's in the water seeps through, grabs the guy by the leg, and starts pulling him through where this other leg breaks. And the idea of there's nowhere to go. You can't even go ahead and, step on a crack. You're just, oof.
Oh, God, yeah. Keeping on Crystal and Elm Street.
Okay.
Man. Friday the 13th one.
All right.
Kevin Bacon's death.
Oh.
I felt it. I felt it last night. So, perspective for anyone has been a while since they've seen it. Pamela's under the bed. She grabs Kevin, who is laying there because he just got done doing the deed, grabs the neck, and then pushes the arrows backwards under the bed through his neck.
Mm-hmm.
Again, bed deaths. Bed deaths scare me.
Yes.
I could feel something about it was just perfect.
And this is the reason why I have no mat. I mean, I have a mattress, but I have no bed frame. It's straight on the floor. So if someone's going to get me through the bottom of the mattress, that means they're on the floor down below.
Have you met our neighbors? That's not inaccurate.
Okay, I am not liking that idea anymore.
But yeah, another big one. Carrie.
Oh, okay.
And ironically enough, it's obviously prom, but it's the first death in prom, the first person to die after Carrie's bloody. For whatever reason, it's satisfying. But what I want to talk about with Carrie on moments of deaths are her mother's death.
Okay.
The scene where they're praying together and Carrie's mom has the knife just for Carrie to see it and telekinetically push it into her mom. Something is haunting about that.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's vulnerability. At least for the movies that I get terrified of, it's all about vulnerability. We put people in the most vulnerable states. Halloween Part 2. And nowhere is safe.
No.
You kill the bad guy. Doesn't that mean the day's over?
It should.
And for the love of me, why does everyone, after surviving one night at Camp Crystal Lake, decide they're going to take a canoe to the middle of the lake and rest and sleep? Every movie.
I guess it's the same reason why when anyone is asked, how are you going to survive a zombie apocalypse? You're going to go on a boat into the water because they can't swim. It doesn't matter if they can't swim.
He drowned in the lake. He's there.
Yeah, I know. But that's my point. It's not the fact that they can't swim. They don't need to. They're not alive. They can just literally walk, then stack, then get you. It's stupid.
Do you know who Jason's arch rival is?
Who's that?
The only character to be in one of two characters to be in more than 2 Friday the 13th movies.
So Freddy Krueger.
No.
Oh, okay.
Tommy.
Oh.
We see him as a little kid.
We see him in
doll?
3 movies.
Yeah, is it more than 2?
Yeah.
Brings him back to life as the zombie we all know and love.
Yep.
Then becomes Jason. If you forget, his last shot is him putting on the mask.
Yep. Forgot about that. It's been a while, but hey, he's fresh on it, so what better way to go ahead and do that?
And the reason I mentioned Tommy is this kind of leads directly into Halloween Kills.
Okay.
About rivals. Michael has some questions to answer in Halloween Kills.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Catches up a little bit.
This is very true.
I'll let you take the floor, sir.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and close this off while actually reviewing Halloween Kills, which we both got a chance to finally see. Now, I've been told recently that Halloween Kills is the 3rd in the installment, essentially. Although we know franchise-wise it's more along the lines like the 9th. But the 1978 original Halloween, and then from there it's supposed to be Halloween in 2018, and then Halloween Kills. Everything else is not considered canon. But when you watch Halloween Kills, there's a few scenes that they show as a flashback, which are actually from Halloween 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that is incorrect when they're saying that it's only the first, the 18, and then the newest one. So it's actually 4, not 3. Now, I have to say, I like Halloween. I really do. We had a good discussion about that, how he's humanized. He's strong. He's scary. But I had a problem with the very beginning of it because he literally takes on, 12
firefighters.
Yeah, 12 firefighters. Now, which we all know firefighters are actually strong. There's 12 of them, one of him, and he pulls a John Wick essentially and kicks all of their butts, kills them all right there with no trouble.
Yeah. And you go from Halloween 1, the perfect cat and mouse game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, I could talk about Halloween 1 forever. Perfect horror movie. And with all of the things we can do with movies now, and again, I'm not going to tell you that I didn't like Halloween Kills, because I did. Jerry's absolutely right. I don't want to see the killer be this strong anymore. I don't want to see him John Wick everything.
Mm-hmm.
I want the human element. That's more fun. We all care way more about Jamie Lee Curtis taking on Michael than we do Michael's kills at this point, I feel like.
Yes. We want to see that retribution. We want to see the hero win, and we want to see it brought to end. I know it sounds bad, like I'm saying I don't want any more Halloween movies. I'm not saying that. We just want to finally see the closure, and we want to see it done well. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, if you haven't seen the movie yet, spoiler, like we said before, it's not over. It definitely is not over.
And they make some interesting decisions. They kill some people that I legitimately did not think she was going to die.
Yeah.
And I'll let you guys watch that one to figure that out. But it's the matter of her death wasn't even drawn out.
No.
It just happened in a flash.
Yep. Now, aside from that, they went ahead and brought back the characters. Now, I don't believe these are the actual actors and actresses who played them. I know Anthony Michael Hall wasn't. But a couple of the others, I didn't look into it. I wasn't sure.
The babysitter friend was.
Okay. So the babysitter's friend was. And then a couple of the other kids. But they were talking about them. And these are the kids that got away. And now they're grown up. So what do they see? They see that the transport where Michael is being transferred from the prison to the last stop where they should never be able to see him ever again has crashed. Something happened, and now he's loose. This deals with the whole point of paranoia of we're going to take things in our own hands. This is mob mentality, all of it. So it kind of changes the formula of the movie. But it's not just that. There's two escapees. So you have Michael and you have another one, but they're not saying the names, they're not showing pictures, and you don't know who's who. We do, but they don't. Which brings up to what happens at the hospital. And that was freaky on its own. So they end up seeing a person wearing the jumpsuit that would be from a psychiatric hospital like that, okay? And they instantly say, it's Michael. So now you have an entire lobby full of people. The people that survived, new people, families of the people, all these people get together and they chase him throughout the entire hospital with one intent, and not to capture, but to kill. And police are trying to stop them, and they're basically saying, fuck you. Nope, we're not going to do that. And it's crazy. It just shows how much paranoia can ensue a person to the point of no more rationality.
Jim Gordon, one bad day. Look at the cops and the mob at the end.
Yep.
They're swayed into it.
Yes. It was
Which I will tell you guys, if you want to really feel satisfied, there is a scene at the end of Halloween Kills where you will feel real satisfied for like 2 minutes because you get some retribution.
Yes. Yes, you do.
I'll just say it should have ended there.
Correct.
It would have been a perfect ending.
We've all seen those movies where you have a perfect ending. It happens. But what happens? They continue the story and it goes on. All right, fine, whatever. So you kind of lose that high of, satisfaction and turn into all right, okay. All right. It doesn't leave a bad taste in your mouth, but it's enough to the point it makes you ponder, like, what were they thinking? Should they have thought that?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they should have put the bottle down and forgot about anything else and actually went with their gut.
What I really like about it, too, is that you have Jamie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing her thing. And then you also have Tommy, also named Tommy, ironically enough.
Yep.
Who is the little boy she is babysitting in the first movie.
Yes.
He is the other main character of Halloween Kills. Now, they were in the same experience together as allies.
Mm-hmm.
He looks up to her. He wants to protect her so bad. Look at how drastically different but also similar, they took it on themselves to end this.
Yes.
Jamie's almost humbled by the end.
Yes, very true.
Also, we keep saying Jamie because I can never actually think of the character's name.
Laurie Strode.
Yep, Laurie. Oh, that's right. And the directors can never figure out if Laurie is related to Michael, having a baby with Michael, if it's a sister, if it's his... Don't even get me started. But she is Michael at one point. That movie was odd. That was Curse of Michael Myers, wasn't it?
I believe so. I have to go back and watch it again.
Stuff? Yeah, that'd be Curse.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's just they went entirely different directions. You have Jamie, who's the family unit, and Tommy is the vigilante mob unit, and they don't. The fact that they don't work together in the film kind of bothers me.
Yeah, I could see that, but honestly, at the same time, it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, he sidelines her.
Well, he was he was scarred with the fact that he met him, everything happened, but he was so young that he couldn't do anything. So now he's got it in his mind that I'm older, I'm stronger, I'm going to take it upon myself. Who's with me? Where in her mind, she was an adult. She survived this twice. So now she's just wondering, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? I got to put an end to this. And that line, I wished that he would be set free.
Yeah.
And I was like, you should have kept your mouth shut.
I had a theory about the ending.
Okay.
I think they could have ended it. But the way they chose to physically react with torture and violence is what juiced him up.
Yep.
I think it's kind of what we're expected to think was they could have ended it. But the mob, you all can read between the lines. You know what we're talking about. There's going to be a mob scene at the end where they give it to Michael pretty hard.
They do.
Except, what if that's what juiced him up?
the adrenaline from everything happening, how their mentality, what's going on with him. Basically, just
Because he was
He could
arguably at his strongest at that point.
yeah,
So thinking about that, like, they did it. They did it themselves.
but you know what? Laurie Strode delivers that line saying, "They don't know. Whatever you do, he comes back stronger. You shoot him, he gets back up. You hit him, you stab him, he's unstoppable."
Cut off his head, burn the body.
Yeah, pretty much. Or let's go ahead and take a nice little trip from the movie Fargo. Wood chipper. It worked for Steve Buscemi. It could work for Michael Myers.
They make fun of that in the Scream TV show.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
That death was brutal.
Yes, it was. Still kind of scary, but it's not a scary movie, so it's not on my scary movie list.
So how are we rating it? How do you rate Halloween Kills?
So, because of the fact of the extra action that they added in there, including the scene where he kicks a door and causes the gun literally to turn backwards to shoot herself in the
I
head.
pretend that moment didn't exist.
Thank you. Same here. But because of stuff like that, I'm bringing it a little low, and I'm going to say a 7. Because I do like the rest of the storyline, but it was those elements that just brought it down for me. Otherwise, if it wasn't for that, if they would have kept with his original formula, slower moving, one kill a piece, stuff that was like the original storyline, then I would have given it a 9 because I did enjoy it. But because John Wick is not Mike Myers, 7. How about you, sir?
6.
6? Enjoyed it, but some of those elements left a bad taste in your
Enjoyed
mouth
it,
too?
disappointed.
Okay. I could see that.
I wanted more.
He's not wrong. But they did say the next one, you had Halloween in 2018, you had Halloween Kills 2021, and later on, Halloween Ends. Supposed to be the last one. But if anyone's familiar with horror franchises, we know if the fans say something, it could continue.
One of my favorite Michael moments is that his weakness is actually Halloween. Remember when he waited in a cave for an entire year before going back to Haddonfield simply because it wasn't Halloween?
I forgot about that part too. Wow, yeah, you were right.
All they ever have to do is survive till sunrise.
Yeah. And it would have to be sunrise because it can't be midnight because that's too cliche.
Yeah, it's just literally sunrise. It's a patience game.
That it is. Well, what can I say? So you heard it here. You got a 6 and you got a 7. Not too bad, but at the same time, not the top of the list compared to any of the others. But it's still worth a watch. The cast in there is great. Don't get me wrong. A lot of scenes take place in there are fun. But we wanted a little bit more from Michael. It's not much else to do. But with that, we will go ahead and bid you adieu. And since it is the day before and tomorrow is Halloween, everyone, happy Halloween and hope everyone has a safe night tonight. And
Happy Halloween, guys. I'm excited for our morning spooks.
All right, same here. All right. You guys have a good night and take care.